and we will dive into the essential articles for the GDPR that are pivotal for our data protection strategy, particularly in the context of AI and automated decision making. So let's then just begin with the core principles and the requirements. So you'll find that Article 5, principles that are relating to processing personal data. The cornerstone of GDPR is Article 5, which is outlining the principles for processing personal data. And these principles ensure that personal data is handled with the utmost respect of the individual's rights and freedoms. And here are the key principles. So lawfulness, fairness, and transparency. Personal data must be processed lawfully, fairly, transparently. And that means that we must inform the individuals how their data is being used and how our data processing activities are actually justified. And then there's purpose limitation. The data must be collected for specified, explicit, and legitimate purposes and not further processed in a manner incompatible with those particular purposes. And this principle ensures that data is only used for that intended purpose and not misused. And then there's data minimization. Only the data necessary for the intended purpose should be collected and processed. And this minimizes the risk of data breaches and ensures that we do not hold excessive information. And then accuracy. Well, personal data must be accurate and kept up to date. And inaccurate data should be corrected or deleted promptly to avoid any harm to the data subject. And then the storage limitation. Data should be kept in a form that permits the data subjects to, that's not kept for no longer than necessary. And it just helps to decrease data breaches, and it helps with data retention policies. And then integrity and confidentiality. You'll find that personal data must be processed in a way that ensures security, including protection against unauthorized or destruction, damage, those type of things. And accountability. The data controller is responsible for compliance with these principles and must be able to demonstrate compliance. And these principles underscore the importance of documentation and accountability in data processing activities. So what you'll see is that Article 22, when it comes to automated decision making. So Article 22 addresses the rights for individuals concerning automated decision making. So things like profiling. So this is particularly relevant in the context of AI systems. So what you'll see, the right to object. Individuals have the right to not be subject to decisions solely done automatically, including profiling, which produces legal effects or similar effects. And this shows that the individuals can contest these decisions and go against them. And there are also exceptions. So there are times where automated decision making is actually allowed, like when it's necessary to get into a contract that is authorized by law or based on explicit consent. And even in these cases, suitable measures must be in place to make sure that the individual's rights and freedoms are not breached. So the right to obtain human intervention, express their viewpoint, and to express their decision. So there's also Article 12, transparency, modality. You'll see that transparency is a recurring theme in GDPR, and it emphasizes the need for clear communication with data subjects. And so what you'll see is that clear communication, the information that's given to data subjects must be concise, transparent, intelligible, and easily accessible. And this ensures that the individuals understand how their data is being used, especially when it comes to their rights under the GDPR. And facilitating rights is another thing. Data controllers must actually facilitate the exercise of data subjects' rights, such as access, rectification, erasure, and restriction of processing. And this principle ensures that individuals can easily exercise their rights without unnecessary hurdles. And Article 13 and 14 are special because these are about information to be provided. So what you'll see is Article 13 and 14, outline the information that must be provided to data subjects when personal data has been collected. And Article 13 when the data has been collected directly from the data subject, they must be informed about the identity and the contract details of the controller, the purposes of using it, the legal basis, and the recipients of the data, among other details. And you'll find that this ensures transparency and consent. And then Article 14, on the other hand, when data is not obtained directly from the data subject, similar information must be provided, along with the source of the data. And this principle really just makes sure that individuals are aware of how their data is actually being used, even if they did not provide it directly. And then there's Article 35, Data Protection Impact Assessment, DPIA, and its requirements. So what you'll see is Article 35 mandates the conduct of data protection impact assessments, DPIAs, and this is for processing activities which are likely to result in a high risks to the freedoms of individuals. And when required, DPIAs are required for processing activities that involve new technologies, large-scale technologies of categories of data, of systematic monitoring, public accessible areas. So this ensures that potential risks are identified and mitigated before processing actually begins. And content of the DPIA, you'll see that a DPIA must include a systematic description of the processing operations, an assessment of the necessity and proportionality of the accessing, the risks to individuals, the measures in which to conduct those risks. And this comprehensive approach just makes sure that, once you look at these things, you will be able to address the basics when it comes to the DPIA. And this is the first part in the first section. So we're going to be moving on to the next section. So for now, thank you for your attention, and I look forward to seeing you in the next section.